My name is Ben Reedy. I'm 21 years old. Just graduated from college in December with a major in biblical studies and a minor in writing. Writing, while it's not my profession, is something that I enjoy doing a great deal. Well, I've always liked words. My parents say that I was speaking in sentences before I could walk, so I don't know if that means anything. My parents have also read to me a lot throughout the years. Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, other things like that. The biggest inspiration would probably be Brian Jake's Redwall books. After I read the first one of those, I couldn't stop reading. Unfortunately, about 2% of writers can actually live off of writing, so I'm not going to be able to get very far with that. My father is worried that I am going to be able to eat, and I am worried about that too because I like eating. It's an important part of my daily functioning. One big inspiration for becoming a writer was really my childhood. I spent an enormous amount of time with my friends running around the yard, carrying out epic battles and forces of evil and good battling against each other. And really that's carried on into the way I operate these days. When I approach writing, I have to consider what kind of power that the words that I'm using have on the audience. Really, since writing is a form of communication and it's also a way to share experiences, once you are bringing a person into a reality that does not quite exist, and since you're the one that's creating that reality, you need to make sure that the way the people behave are true to life, and the answers to their problems are problems that are true to the way people actually work and true to the way reality actually is. Because just the same way truth can be freeing and help you grow, untruth can send you down inaccurate paths and cause all kinds of problems and confusions, and sometimes can just be plain unhelpful. Words, when they're used well, kind of do the same thing that visual media does. They suggest an experience. They bring the reader or the viewer inside of a world that doesn't quite exist, or an experience that they haven't quite had. And because of that, words are very powerful things. They can help you understand what another person is going through. They can bring you to places that you've never been before. They can suggest to you the sights and sounds of the Amazon rainforest or a janitor's closet. Really, that ability to share another person's experiences or get inside another person's head that words afford is something that I think is very powerful. Because one external source of writing that's really very handy is reality. When, say, I'm at youth group and I'm interacting with a particular girl that's been having a lot of problems with her life and is really just kind of down, but is trying to put up a front and enjoy this time that she has with her friends, then that gives me an opportunity to see, okay, this is how people who deal with emotional trauma and deal with broken homes actually behave. And so then I'm able to bring that experience back to my desk and write the characters in my stories that do have problems much more convincingly because of that. Reading about writing is really the best inspiration for me, because writers often talk about writing like it's some sort of glamorous, heavenly experience, a euphoria or whatever. And so that gets me excited to write. I do find it very difficult to capture exactly with words what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking, because words are limited things, and unfortunately, there are only so many different ways you can say blue, and a lot of the different ways you can say blue have been used before, and have been used so many times that when the people hear them, they don't see the blue, they hear somebody talking about blue. And that's not what I want to do. I want to try to bring their eyeballs in so that they can see what I have in my mind's eye. And yes, English is a real jerk about that sometimes. One thing that has helped me think through another person's eyes is walking home as that person. I had been at a particular promotional event that the writing department at my school was holding, and an author had come in saying that in order to get inside the head of a teenage boy that she was writing, she went grocery shopping as that boy. And she bought all kinds of instant pizzas and Twinkies and other junk food like that. Said her kids loved it. And so as I was trying to understand the psyche of a character that I was writing, a character who had a lot of anxiety issues and was really agoraphobic, I started walking home from classes one day, and I headed down into the woods. I followed an unused path. I tried to keep to the shadows. Anytime I got to an open space, I would race across, and I would freak out if I was ever standing in direct light or if I saw a bird somewhere. And so that really helped me get into the mindset of what is it like to be this character who feels like he's hunted all the time and who feels like the world is out to get him. And so, in a sense, writing is similar to acting. You need to understand what's going on inside the character's head, and then you need to replicate it, albeit in the form of words rather than in physical expression. One way that writing has changed how I understand the world is that I see detail a lot better. It used to be that I would just look at a flower and then say, "It's a flower. I don't like flowers very much. I am walking away." Now, when I see a flower, I look at it and I come to appreciate the textures and the fine hairs on the side of the little green thing underneath the petals, and the way the insects have smeared the pollen around and other things like that. And I can see at a much higher magnification than I used to be able to, rather than just running along and doing whatever. I also really enjoy autobiographical essays, some literary short stories. I very rarely like poems, because most of the time I can't understand them, and that frustrates me. I would much rather have something intelligible said well. In fact, I'll read 300 pages about insects and muskrats if it's done well, and if the writing is good enough. I like good writing. I don't like bad writing. In fact, I find it very bad. And so I would prefer that I only read stuff that is worth rereading. Usually, if it's not worth a second read, it's not worth reading in the first place. And so I am trying to run off that new modus operandi, that new way of approaching media from now on. One of the really great things about being good at English is that, particularly when you're in a college environment, you can use your writing skills to help all kinds of people. For example, early in the fall semester, you find a freshman who is in the lounge with his head in his hands staring at his Comp 1 paper and asking, "How the heck do I do this? What are semicolons?" And you have the opportunity to come alongside this guy and to tell him that yes, semicolons are these things that are actually pretty sensible compared to commas and capitalization and other stuff like that. And that's one way that you can help people out through writing. Yes, I would say that I am an imaginative, creative person, and I would say that I fall within that spectrum. I don't necessarily imagine everything under the sun, but what I do imagine, I try to imagine with as much originality and as much quality as I can.